I knew my cousin's wedding was going to be chaotic the moment my aunt tried to cancel the entire thing over a dress color. And no, I'm not exaggerating. She genuinely believed the bride had stolen her color because she had worn that same shade to a charity gala 6 years ago. Yes, 6. And somehow, in her mind, that meant the wedding needed to be stopped. For context, my Aunt Linda has always been the most dramatic person in our entire family. Every holiday turns into a performance. Every birthday becomes about her. Every family group chat eventually turns into a rant about how no one respects her enough. She thrives on attention the way normal people thrive on oxygen. When my cousin Jake got engaged to his fiancée Emily, the rest of us were thrilled. Jake is the calmest, nicest person in our family. Emily is sweet, patient, and honestly saint-level tolerant, which is probably the only reason she survived dealing with my aunt. Because Linda immediately started acting like Jake's wedding was actually about her. At first it was small things. She tried to control the guest list, then the flowers, then the menu, then the seating chart. At one point she literally said, "The bride's side already gets enough attention. The groom's family deserves equal spotlight." Which, sure, fair. Except by groom's family, she meant herself. Emily handled it politely. Too politely, honestly. She would smile and say things like, "That's a nice idea, Linda." But we already decided. Most normal people would take the hint. My aunt does not operate on normal human settings. The dress situation started about 3 weeks before the wedding. Emily had already chosen her wedding dress months earlier. It wasn't white. It was this soft champagne gold color that honestly looked beautiful. Elegant, simple, different. Everyone loved it. Everyone except my aunt. The first time Linda saw the dress was during a small pre-wedding brunch. Emily hosted for some close family members. Emily came out of the bedroom smiling, holding the dress up so we could see it. People were clapping and complimenting her. And then my aunt went completely silent, which is never a good sign. She stared at the dress like it had personally offended her. Then she said slowly, "Emily, why would you choose that color?" Emily blinked. "What do you mean?" Linda crossed her arms. "That's my color." The room went quiet. Emily looked confused. "I'm sorry?" Linda sighed dramatically. "I wore that exact shade to the Henderson Charity Gala in 2018. No one said anything, because we were all trying to process the fact that she was referencing an event 6 years ago." Emily laughed a little. "Oh, I didn't know that." "Well, you should have," Linda snapped. Jake immediately stepped in. "Mom, it's just a color." Linda turned to him like he had betrayed her. "Just a color?" Her voice started rising. "I was famous for that dress." This was news to literally everyone. She continued. "People talked about it for months." My brother leaned toward me and whispered, "I don't even remember that gala existing." I nodded. "Same." Emily tried to stay calm. "I promise I didn't copy you." Linda scoffed. "Well, someone obviously told you." Jake rubbed his face. "Mom, nobody copied your dress." And that should have been the end of it. But unfortunately, that was just the beginning. Within 2 days, the entire family group chat exploded. My aunt had written a 5-paragraph message about how Emily had disrespected the family. She said the dress was symbolic theft. She claimed Emily was trying to humiliate her. And then she dropped the most insane line of all. "If this dress is worn at the ceremony, I will not attend." The chat immediately filled with confused responses. My uncle wrote, "Linda, it's just a color." My grandmother replied, "Sweetheart, please calm down." Jake simply wrote, "Mom, stop." But Linda doubled down. "This is about respect." Emily stayed silent in the chat, which honestly made me feel worse for her. Because I knew she was probably sitting there wondering how a dress had turned into World War III. The next meltdown happened during the rehearsal dinner. And this is where things got truly embarrassing. Emily walked in wearing a simple sundress. Jake was greeting guests. Everyone was chatting and laughing. Then my aunt arrived. She scanned the room like a detective searching for evidence. The moment she saw Emily, she marched straight toward her. "You still haven't changed the dress." The entire table went quiet. Emily looked exhausted. "Linda, we talked about this." "Yes, we did," Linda said sharply. "And you ignored me." Jake stepped in again. "Mom, this is ridiculous." Linda raised her voice. "No, what's ridiculous is that your fiancé thinks she can erase me." Emily blinked. "Erase you?" Linda pointed at her. "You're trying to recreate the most iconic dress I've ever worn." At this point, people were literally turning around from other tables to watch. Emily took a breath. "I have never seen your dress." Linda laughed bitterly. "Of course you haven't, because you pretend other women don't exist." My cousin Mark muttered under his breath. "What the hell is happening?" Jake finally snapped. "Mom, stop." But Linda wasn't done. She turned to the room dramatically. "Maybe I shouldn't even come to the wedding." Someone in the back whispered, Don't threaten us with a good time. I almost choked, trying not to laugh. That night, things got even weirder. Because my grandmother pulled Emily aside and quietly explained something none of us knew. Apparently, my aunt had been obsessed with that color for years. And the reason was incredibly petty. Back in 2018, the Henderson Gala had been one of the biggest events in our city. Linda had spent weeks bragging about the dress she planned to wear. But when she arrived, another woman showed up wearing the same color. Not the same dress, just the same shade. According to my grandmother, Linda had spent the entire night complaining that the other woman was stealing her moment. And since then, she had convinced herself that she owned that color. Emily stared at my grandma. You're kidding. Grandma shook her head sadly. I wish I was. Emily sighed. So this is about something that happened 6 years ago? Unfortunately, Grandma said yes. The morning of the wedding should have been peaceful. Instead, my phone exploded with messages. Because my aunt had decided to escalate again. She was telling relatives that the wedding needed to be postponed. Her reasoning? The bride refuses to respect the groom's family traditions. Which was hilarious. Because our family has zero traditions involving dress colors. Jake finally called her. We could all hear him yelling from the hallway. Mom, you cannot cancel my wedding. Linda yelled back. You're choosing her over your own mother. Jake replied. Yes, that's how marriage works. Honestly, that was the most rational sentence spoken all weekend. But the real disaster happened during the ceremony. Everything was beautiful. The music started. Guests stood. Emily began walking down the aisle in her champagne gold dress. And she looked incredible. People were smiling. Some were crying. It was a perfect moment. Until my aunt stood up. Loudly. This wedding cannot continue. Every single person turned around. Jake froze at the altar. The officiant looked horrified. Linda pointed at Emily. She stole my dress color. Someone gasped. Someone else whispered, Oh my God, she actually did it. Jake walked down the aisle toward his mother. Sit down. No, she snapped. You are embarrassing yourself, he said quietly. I am defending my dignity. Emily finally spoke. Linda, please. Linda looked at her and said something that made the entire room go silent. You have always been jealous of me. Emily blinked. I met you 2 years ago. Linda ignored that. You wanted my color because you wanted my attention. And that's when my cousin Mark stood up. Linda. She turned. What? Mark pulled out his phone. I found pictures from that gala. He turned the screen around. Your dress wasn't even this color. The entire room leaned closer. Because he was right. The dress she wore in the photo was rose gold. Not champagne. Not even close. Jake looked at her slowly. Mom, are you serious? Linda stared at the photo. Her face turned red. Then she did the most dramatic thing possible. She burst into tears and ran out of the venue. Just like that. Silence filled the room. Then the officiant cleared his throat and said, Well, shall we continue? And honestly, the rest of the ceremony was perfect. Jake and Emily got married. Everyone cheered. The reception was amazing. And my aunt? She tried to call Jake 12 times that night. He didn't answer. The next day, he sent one message. If you ever want to be part of our lives again, you owe Emily an apology. As far as I know, she still hasn't sent one. And the funniest part? Emily later joked that if she'd known a dress color would cause that much chaos, she would have picked bright neon green just to make the meltdown even bigger.